Here's the Face the Nation interview with Jeff Flake, Senator from Arizona, on Donald Trump and his position of not only not endorsing Donald Trump, but actively advocating against Donald Trump.
This is John McCain's colleague, Republican Senator Jeff Flake. Senator, you are not supporting Donald Trump at the moment, but you met with his running mate, Governor Mike Pence. Did he try and convince you to support Mr. Trump?
Well, Mike and I go way back. We came into the House together and served together for 12 years. I have a lot of respect for him. He talked about the ticket. I certainly respect him. I've still told him I'm not ready to support Donald Trump.
When he talked about the ticket, what was the pitch?
Well, that Donald Trump is a different guy in private than he is shown in public. And he made a good case. Mike is a good guy, and I hope that he has influence on Donald Trump. But I've yet to see Donald Trump change positions he needs to change, and particularly change the tone and tenor of the debate sufficient to win the election in November.
That's something we hear a lot from those supporting Mr. Trump, that he's different in private than in public. So what does that mean, though?
You know, I don't know. If you could govern in private, I guess it would be okay, but you can't. And so I do have a problem still with some of the statements that he's making, particularly here in Arizona. The statements he made right out of the gate when he got into the campaign about those crossing the border being rapists and whatnot, that just doesn't sit well. And then to refer to a judge born in Indiana as a Mexican, you know, in a pejorative way, it's just, you know, you can't expect to win Arizona when you make statements like that, and you offend a large and growing demographic needlessly. And I just think that he's got to change those positions.
You also mentioned that he should apologize to the Khan family, the parents of that American soldier who died. Any discussion of that?
You know, not with Mike Pence, but he does need to apologize. He'd be better just to move on, just as Hillary Clinton would be better to apologize for her statement with regard to the emails and move on. And politicians have a hard time, all of us have a hard time doing that.
Are you, in your view, when we last talked, you said you might endorse, you were waiting to see if some things have changed. You said they haven't changed, the positions haven't changed. Are you beyond the point of no return, or could you still possibly endorse Donald Trump?
No, I still hope to support our nominee. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see that he's going to make the changes that he needs. These changes, like I said, not only have to be the tone and tenor, some positions he's taken need to change. He's got to have a more serious immigration policy than simply saying we're going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. His position with regard to NATO and that security arrangement we have with European countries, that needs to change. The Muslim ban seems to be walked back, but we're not sure where he's landed there. And so there are a number of these positions that need to change as well.
Would you also include trade on that? You're a supporter of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He is very much opposed to that. Is that another one you'd like to see him change?
Oh, you bet, you bet. We've got to trade if we want economic growth. And TPP is important not only because of trade and economic growth, geopolitically and for our security, it's extremely important. We want Southeast Asian countries in particular to be in our trade orbit and not just China's. And so these are important things that you know, it would be great if we could do just bilateral trade agreements. That's not the world today. These countries have choices, and we're going to be left behind if we don't enter multilateral trade agreements.
One of the arguments supporters of Donald Trump say is that if he were in office, he would be there to sign what Paul Ryan has put forward, what Republicans have put forward, and then he'd be ready to do it. So why isn't that a good argument for his candidacy? All those policies Republicans want to see passed, they'd have a willing partner in Donald Trump.
That would certainly be great, but I would argue that he simply can't get there. You can't go on and get 65 million votes. He's only received about 14 million votes in the primaries so far. To get from 14 to 65 or so, you've got to take more responsible positions with regard to policy, and you also have to change the tone and tenor. And if none of us on the Republican side are pushing back and saying that that needs to change, then I don't believe he will change. And he has to change if he's going to win that election, and we're going to get the policy that we need in the White House.
You mentioned tone and temper, so let's stick with the alliteration. A lot of people bring up temperament. What does that mean to you in terms of Donald Trump's candidacy?
Well, I mean, when you have somebody who says what he said to this Gold Star family, when he's made the statements with regard to Hispanic Americans, there are a number of other statements with regard to women. These things have to change. You can't go on and expect that you're going to be president of the United States when you make statements like that. That's why some of us, I believe, need to push back and say that we need more responsible campaign, and we haven't seen it so far.
What do you mentioned Arizona and some of the effects that what Mr. Trump has said would have on voters in that state. So is there any chance that Hillary Clinton could win in Arizona?
1996, Bill Clinton won Arizona. So yes, it is possible. You know, the Hispanic population here is about 33%. The voting population among Hispanics isn't quite as large, but it is growing. And what the poll also showed, that there's an increased urgency among Hispanics to vote. And if they do, then it will be a changed ballgame here. We in Arizona realize that we've got to have meaningful immigration reform. You can't just throw platitudes out there about a wall or about Mexico paying for it and be taken seriously here. And so I think that, yes, he does have to change his positions and be a more serious candidate.
All right, Senator Jeff Flake, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Jeff Flake, he's not stupid. He knows that the demographics in his state are changing. Now, he runs for re-election in approximately 2 years. So being the smart guy that he apparently is, he's laying the groundwork so that he can get Hispanic support by being against Trump and Trump's obviously xenophobic remarks regarding Mexicans coming into this country.